Hello and welcome to another video by Rick Miracle made in my series Freemasonry and Satanism. Again, I think of that name and why I chose it, Freemasonry and Satanism. I know the very first video I made in this series, Series 1, was on the Freemasonry Bible. So Freemasonry and Satanism, the devil, Satan, Lucifer, it's all in the Bible, biblical, fallen angels. So what do we know about our reality? Today is December 24th, Sunday, 2017, the day before Christmas. And so I thought this topic I'm going to talk about is appropriate. Going to continue with this book, Talisman, Graham Hancock Robert Bauval, if I'm saying his name right, Secret Societies, Sacred Cities, and Secret Faith. Secret Faith. So how many people believe in Christianity, Christmas, like they did 20 years ago? Far fewer, so it seems. How many more people believe in the New Age material than they did 20 years ago? A lot more people. And what about all the satanic rituals? Even with demons with horns, with Madonna, Katy Perry, Lady Gaga, all kinds of symbolism. The Eurovision, the American Idol program. Conchita Wurst winning the contest. Conchita's a female part, Wurst is a male part. Singing the song Phoenix Rising with the words in it, "You can't stop us." What is that telling us? Face was like Jesus and the body. The torso was like a woman in a silky dress. Androgynous. If you go look up pictures of the devil, it's half female, half male, androgynous. So what is this religion that appears to be contrary to Christianity, to Jesus' teachings? So this is part 2, series 181. And I was reading this book, closing in on page 100 in this book. It's over 500 pages, and I'm not trying to do an audio book. But there was some material here that just seemed the right thing to say at the right time. All kinds of predictions of gloom and doom. World War III. President Donald Trump said the other day, "Merry Christmas." He said the White House can say that again. He said there's going to be no more war against Christianity. There's going to be a war against North Korea. So what do we have to look forward to? And is there a spiritual, religious component to this? Freemasonry and Satanism. Lucifer, Albert Pike, the author of Morals and Dogma, who wrote that Lucifer was their deity. Anyways, on this Graham Hancock, Robert Bauval, the authors of this book, I do have some other interesting books by Graham Hancock. Thought I'd just look at them for a moment. The Mars Mystery, the secret connection linking Earth's ancient civilization and the red planet. And he's got a picture of an all-seeing eye with a red planet over it. Graham Hancock. On abebooks.com, I got this for about $3.70, which includes free shipping. And I have nothing to do with A-Books business-wise. Although I thought I should contact them and have commercials on my videos for them because it's such a great place to get used books in good condition. Free shipping. I think I got the entire Encyclopedia Judaica, about 4 feet long, the Jewish encyclopedia, for under $100, free shipping. Another book I got in the mail today, I should say yesterday, but I checked the mail today. The Sign and the Seal. Discover the most shattering historical secret of the last 3,000 years. The Quest for the Lost Ark of the Covenant. Graham Hancock. So the covenant, when Moses went up to the mountain, so-called to speak to God, which God did he speak to? The evil God or the good God? Are there two different types of deities? Who's in control of earth? I suspect these are important questions. It seems like we're all being deceived. Another one I have here is The Message of the Sphinx, A Quest for the Hidden Legacy of Mankind, Graham Hancock and Robert Bauval. So I got probably even other books by Graham Hancock. Again, abooks.com. If you go through my videos and look at the authors and the books, you can find a lot of those books. And I will say that the prices are going up like everything else. Books I bought for $1 and $2 are $3 and $5 and $7, $10 now. And I suspect as people continue to wake up, they will get more expensive, and the powers that be will try to buy them up so that you can't get them. Just me thinking. So anyways, December 24th, and I wish everybody a Merry Christmas. Celebrating the Messiah, Jesus Christ, who came 2,000 years ago, tried to tell humanity we are to love one another, and was crucified for it. But is that what all the religions believe? Are the different variations of even the Christian religion that actually believe in something else? The Gnostics, Manichaeans, and some other ones here we're going to mention, the Cathars, the Bogomils, throughout history, say, no, God did not come in the flesh, Jesus. He came as a manifested apparition. Looked pretty real, but he wasn't real. Even the crucifixion was just a big hologram to impress the masses. This is in the Christian religion, people who call themselves good Christians. They think, and I'll let the book speak for itself like when I normally make videos. I don't want my opinion to be the overlined story when I make videos. I want to read from these books by famous authors. But I will say this summary. They think that we humans, the opposition to the Catholic Christianity and other Christian religions, and maybe other religions like the Islamic religion, the Buddhist, the Hindu, and there's Zoroastrianism and shamanic religion, tribes all over the world. Anyways, these Cathars, Manichaeans, Bogomils, and other religions that were accused of heresy by the church, Rome, and persecuted, prosecuted, and put to the death, executed. So they don't think that being in these human bodies is a good thing. They think it's imprisonment, this opposition to the Pope Catholic Church. So they think that we need to try to ascend and not return to be reincarnated over and over and over again. They say it's a prison and a trap, that materialism is evil. Causes one to pause what to think about. Like I said, this should be an interesting conversation for the day before Christmas, time of year. So anyways, I'm just going to read on here. Mani is for Manichaeism. He was I don't want to call him a prophet, but a teacher. And as he was learning, apparently some spiritual beings came to him, enlightened him, and then he became a more perfect teacher, maybe then a prophet. And actually claiming that he was an apostle for God, speaking for God. So I suppose that's worth listening to. But also, remember, when I read from these books, I'm not trying to teach this as gospel, as truth. It's a conversation. If I were to have a wish, it would just be that people would think and see. This thing with President Donald Trump saying that the effort to destroy Christianity is over, and he wished us all Merry Christmas. But he intends to have a new war, a war on North Korea, doesn't seem to me to be a good idea. It seems to be part of the plan to eventually bring in China and Russia and what else, Pakistan, India, and the rest of the world into this World War III. Apparently a nuclear holocaust that maybe can free we humans from these physical bodies. Ascension. How crazy is their thinking? That's my point in this conversation. What do they think? Who are these opponents of each other? Which one is the real Christian church? The Manichaeans, the Cathars, the Bogomils? Or is it the organized religion, the Vatican? The Islamic religion, and the other religions? Or is it that the major religions, like the Catholic religion, have they been hijacked? And are many of we the people, like me and you, are we good people being deceived, even in the Arab world? Which all those Arabs are not Islamic. A lot of them are Christian, a lot of them are Buddhist, a lot of them are Hindu, a lot of them are atheists, a lot of them are Zoroastrian, etc. So you can't lump them all into one basket. American Indians, Mayans, Peruvians, Aborigines from Australia. What is this other world? So let me read on with Mani, the messenger of light, a religious cult, Manichaeism. The teaching and philosophy of another sect are also an important part of the jigsaw puzzle. Known as Manichaeism, after its founder Mani, it was younger than some of the Christian Gnostic movements. And I did look up Gnostic because I was kind of confused with the exact meaning. But Gnosticism is an ancient heresy that divided the church in the 2nd and 3rd centuries. And it teaches, contradicts Christian doctrine. The Gnostic Christianity, rebellion against and breaking free of the conformity set by the religious dogmas. So which one is the real Christian church? The Gnostic Christians who are rebelling and want to be nonconformist? Or is it the Christian church, the Vatican, the Baptists, Protestants? Or is it a mix? Are there good people and bad people in both organizations? From the top level up, are they deceiving us? And is it our job as citizens of the world to wake up? Are we responsible for our souls and our soul growth? as Edgar Casey talked about. Am I reincarnated? Is this my 7th incarnation as a human? What about the people watching this video? You? Are you 6th incarnation? 3 incarnations? 11th incarnation? An old soul? Is that a process of growth and how to make it to the next level up? Is that what we're here for? So it was younger than some of the Christian Gnostic movements, but a century older than the Messalinians, another Gnostic cult. It too was viciously, persecuted by the church as a heresy rather than a pagan religion. Yet there is a dispute among scholars as to whether Manichaeism was Christian in any meaningful sense at all. Certainly it was much less Christian than the religion of the Bogomils and the Cathars, and that, as we've seen, cannot accurately be described as Christianity. It was really a completely different faith built up around many of the same New Testament texts and characters. So the Cathars were persecuted in the French area and around that part of Europe hundreds of years ago by the Catholic Church. They were wiped out almost entirely. But what preceded them was the Bogomilism, and what preceded Bogomilism was the Manichaeism, and what preceded the Manichaeism was the Messalinians. So this opposition to Christianity has existed all along, and they believe, like I said a moment ago, that we people on earth are basically living in Hades, hell, and that we're spiritual beings trapped in these bodies by Satan. Now you talk about Jesus' teaching, and in the Bible it says, "He who believes in me shall be saved." So what is it? And again, let me read on here. I just want to get the background correct. Perhaps the confusion comes in because Manny sometimes claimed to be the apostle of Christ. Later, also one of the titles of the Paulicans, this was another group associated with the Manichaeans, the Cathars, the Bogomils. They had something called the Paulicans, following some prophet or leader, Paulicans. And because surviving letters sent between communities of Manichaeisms in North Africa show that they saw themselves as Christians. So they believe in Jesus' teaching, but they don't believe he came in the flesh. They're anti-materialism. It is also generally accepted that several of the strong central notions of Christianity, including the idea that there is a redemptive meaning to things, are found in Manichaeism. On the other hand, there is much in Manichaeism that seems to be unmistakably non-Christian. For a start, it was an uncompromisingly dualistic religion in exactly the same way as the religion of the Cathars or the Bogomils. It saw the human race endlessly regenerated by the snare of reproduction as the creation of an evil God, an idea that we Christians reject. An idea that we know Christianity rejects. So the Cathars, Manichaeans, and Bogomils, they think humans were created by the evil God. And there's a reason, it explains it here. It saw the human race, that would be the Manichaeisms, Bogomils, the Cathars. It saw the human race endlessly regenerated by the snare of reproduction as the creation of an evil God, an idea we know Christianity rejects. Similarly, Manichaeism made little or no use of the New Testament text. They offered worship, and here we go, I discovered this. They offered worship to the Son and the moon as vessels of light. And if you look a lot of the Freemasonry material, Rosicrucian material, and Illuminati material, and all these cults, they have a symbol of the sun and the moon over this female entity, Isis, Columbia. Somebody said, some people think it's even after the Statue of Liberty, what that means. The feminine god, the moon. So they offered worship to the sun and the moon as vessels of the light, and this very unlike the Cathars and the Bogomils. And despite sometimes calling himself the apostle of Christ, it is notable that Manichaeism, also frequently used the broader term apostle of God. So here he's calling himself the speaker for God. He meant that he was an emissary or messenger, and he placed himself as the successor to Christ at the end of a line of earlier non-Christian apostles. Obviously, the church saw this as a heresy. It involved Christ, but clearly devalued the unique quality of his mission by putting him on a par with the founders of a well-known pagan religions. And remember, I continue to seek out the religion, the philosophy of all these secret societies, which I believe, Secret Doctrine, Helena Blavatsky, Albert Pike, Morals and Dogma, and so much more, definitely claim Lucifer as their deity. Lucifer Magazine, the New Age magazine for the Freemasons, Lucifer Publishing Company, and so much more. So that, if you look up, you can find plenty of evidence of that. So some people say Lucifer's misunderstood. He's actually the good God. Satan is understood. He's actually the good God. The devil is misunderstood. He's actually the good God. I don't believe it. Like the Eurovision singing contest, like the American Idol program, with the being with the head like Jesus and the body of a woman in silky dress, singing the Phoenix Rising, you can't stop us. I don't think that's the good God. Opening ceremony for the tunnel in Switzerland, with the demons with horns falling from the sky, and a railroad car with seemingly naked people having an orgy, groping each other. I don't think that's the good God. Emmys, Grammys, Super Bowl halftime shows, Olympic openings with all those satanic rituals and demons. I don't think it's the good God. But that's just me. All right, back to the book here. Obviously, the church saw this as heresy. It involved Christ, but clearly devalued the unique quality of his mission by putting him on a par with the founders of the well-known pagan religion. One of Mani's own surviving statements on the matter in his book for King Sapor, that was around 250 AD, 250 years after Jesus' birth, why we celebrate Christmas, makes this completely clear. From age to age, the apostles of God did not cease to bring here the wisdom and works of the Spirit. Thus, in one age, their coming was into the countries of India through the apostle that was the Buddha. In another age, it was in the land of Persia through Zoroaster, and another in the land of the West through Jesus. After that, in this last age, the revelation came down, and this prophethood arrived through myself, Mani, the apostle of the true God, into the land of Babel. So Babylonia would be over there in Iraq. I believe that's why we had 9/11 and even World War I and World War II and so much more in this pursuit of the New Age and New World Order. Has everything to do with this. Let me read that one paragraph again. This is what Mani says in a letter. Manichaeism, the forerunner of the Cathars and Bogomils and so many of these other Gnostic cults, the ones that were in opposition to Jesus' teachings, the Catholic Church, albeit many know that the hierarchy, the leadership of the Catholic Church, seems to have been infiltrated many years ago, 1,000 years ago, And good popes and bad popes have sat on the throne, if you want to call it, of that, the Pope's chair. But let me read again what Manny said. From age to age, the apostles of God, so the teachers for God, did not cease to bring here on earth the wisdom and works of the Spirit. So I believe we're all spiritual beings in these biological bodies, and that entities from the other side have come to teach us. Even Jesus said to the Jews, "Ye are the killers of your prophets." So they're age to age, the apostles of God did not cease to bring to earth the wisdom and works of the Spirit. Thus, in one age, their coming was into the countries of India through the apostles, that was the Buddha. So in India and China, they had the apostles, the speakers for God, the Buddha. In another age, in the land of Persia, Iran, around there, through Zoroaster. In another, into the land of the West, Jesus. This is the Manichaeism teaching. After that, in this last age, this revelation came down, and this prophethood arrived through myself, Manny, the apostle of the true God, into the land of Babel. So some prophecy is being fulfilled here. In this fragment, Buddha, Zoroaster, Jesus, and Manny are given as examples, not as a definitive list, of the apostles of God. So apparently there are many other apostles of God, emissaries who came from the spiritual world to teach mankind. And with the fallen angel teachings, apparently it's not just good angels and emissaries sent from the good God, but apparently there are a lot of demons and fallen angels and evil entities who have come to earth or have always been here on earth and influencing mankind. Hence, the big battle on earth between good and evil, which apparently is going on in the cosmos, the battle between good and evil, whether you want to believe the cosmos is just another dimension, or maybe there are many dimensions. But that seems to be what's going on. In another surviving fragment, Manny names two more such messengers. The Greek philosopher, Plato, 427 to 347 BC, so 300 or 400 years before Jesus. And the Greek deity Hermes. Some say the Statue of Liberty is Hermes. In Manny's times, the latter, whom we will meet again in part 2 of this book, was generally equated with thought, Thoth. So we've been going over Thoth. We've been going over Mithra and many of these other beings. They're talked about in this book. The ancient Egyptian god of wisdom. So what are we to believe? Next page. Meetings with the twin. So we're talking about Manichaeism. And that there was Manny, the messenger of the light. And Lucifer, the light bearer, is known as the light being, light bearer. Are we being deceived? A lot of the UFO aliens, one particular one called orbs, are glowing orbs which seem to be intelligent. Or even the greys and other beings seem to pop in and out of existence, and even the reptilians are said to be shapeshifters. What are we to believe? Despite the extensive persecution of Manichaeism by different regimes in different periods over hundreds of years, some of the details of Manny's biography and of his claims to a sacred mission seems to have come down to us rather fairly reliable. He was born in and about 216 AD, so 200 plus years after Jesus' birth, in the village of Mardino, in the south of the Sistaphon near Babylon. Here we go, Babylon, Iraq. Remember 911. Saddam Hussein with weapons of mass destruction. He didn't have any. Now they're saying the Kim Jong, whatever his name is, of North Carolina, has weapons of mass destruction. I suspect he doesn't have any. He doesn't even have enough money to feed his people. Enough money to feed his people. Food. I think I need a drink. Continuing on. So Mani was born 216 AD, a couple hundred years after Jesus' birth, near Babylon, a location some 32 kilometers southeast of Baghdad, in the modern state of Iraq. In Mani's time, Sestapion enjoyed great wealth, prominence, political power within the Persian Empire as the winter capital of the king. Of course, Iran is in the Persians, the Iranians. It had served this function for the Parthian dynasty that ruled the empire from 247 BC until 224 AD, about 500 years, 247 years before Jesus, and 224 years after Jesus' birth, when Mani was about 8 years old, and it continued to do so with renewed grandeur under the Sasanian Empire, 224 to AD to 642, so almost 400 years, which succeeded the Parthians. The Sasanians were decidedly national and Persia in character. Their first king, Adashur, 224 AD to 41, almost 20 years, moved rapidly to install the ancient Persian faith of Zoroastrianism as the official religion of the empire and gave enormous powers to the priesthood, the Magi. As he lived in the neighborhood of Sestation at this time, therefore, we can be sure that Mani would have been well acquainted with Zoroastrianism. A lot of people are not familiar with Zoroastrianism. A lot of people are aware of the Islam religion, the Muslims, and of course the Christians. A lot of people are not familiar with being an atheist, and Buddhist or Hindu, or Native American Indians or Mayans, shamanic religions or philosophies. But what do we really know? What about UFOs, aliens, and channeled material by psychics and mediums, remote viewing, prophecy? That's why I make these videos, trying to get to the bottom of what's going on, because I am convinced quite clearly that something is going on. The symbolism is off the charts with the obelisk in our city squares, the dome on the Capitol, the dome on the Vatican buildings, and over there in the Israel, their new building as a dome. So what is it with the obelisk and the dome, representing the male and the female? So as he lived in the neighborhood of Sestation, I'm saying the name wrong, I'm sure, it's near Babylon. At this time, therefore, we can be sure that Mani would have been well acquainted with Zoroastrianism, although traditions that he was for some time a Magus himself are unlikely to be true, since the religion was a cultural crossroads in the ancient world. A young man like Mani, deeply interested in spiritual matters, would also have been exposed here to a wide range of potential influences. Amongst them, Babylonian astrology, things I've been talking about. Judaism, things I've been talking about. Buddhism from India. Philosophy of Greece, things we've been talking about. The ancient religious mysteries. What do we need to know? And nowhere in any of this material do they deny that Jesus was real, whether he was a real physical man or a spiritual entity. They don't deny his existence. Matter of fact, they say that from the spirit world, many emissaries, saviors, prophets, whatever you want to call them, have been sent to earth to teach mankind. Some of them from the evil God, some of them from the good God. I guess that's what we have to figure out. What is what? Which is the true religion? Is there a religion? Are we being deceived? Is there a plan for depopulation? Do they really believe we're spiritual beings trapped in these human bodies? And do they desire to set us free by annihilating the planet? Like walking into a cave and a bunch of bats all start flying out as you disturb them. Are they trying to release all the spiritual beings from Earth with a nuclear holocaust? What do these people believe? Was Jesus sent here to show us how to save ourselves, believing in him? So whenever what happens, it won't matter. We'll be saved. Our spiritual souls will go to the right place of the good God. Just a conversation. More directly, it is known that Manny was reared amongst an obscure sect of Jewish Christians called the Eclesiastians, Jewish Christians. So not all Jewish people were anti-Jesus. Matter of fact, the Jewish Hebrews back then who were pro-Jesus believed he was the Messiah. They were persecuted, prosecuted, assassinated. Considered to have been Gnostics and linked by some scholars with the Essenes of the Dead Sea Scrolls. So I've made a video on the Dead Sea Scroll book. We'll be looking at that again. All this stuff ties together. They were mystics and visionaries with strict purity laws and repetitive rituals that Manny rebelled against. Repetitive rituals, strict purity laws, but through them he was exposed to an additional vital influence of his thinking. The teachings of the Christian Gnostics. The Gnostic were the ones who were opposed to the Christian teaching dogma. Although later to be persecuted as heresy, these teachings were still in free circulation in the first half of the 3rd century and are generally agreed to have had a great impact on the construction of Manny's own distinctively Gnostic religion. Sacred texts passed down through the Eclesiastians or within his own family may have played a role. In this respect, it is interesting that some accounts present Manny as the adopted son of an elderly widow. The story goes that on her death, she entrusted him with a precious legacy of 4 books of sacred knowledge, from which critics alleged he derived many of the teachings that he claimed as his own. So Manny was left these books by the death of a widow who had adopted him. He read the books and he claimed this knowledge as his own. So he didn't get it from some spiritual entity beings at this point. From which critics alleged he derived many of the teachings he later claimed as his own. The content of these books was said to have been gathered in Egypt at the time of the apostles by a certain Scapions who had learned the wisdom of the Egyptians, the ancient Egyptian religion. Apparently that is the Kabbalah mysticism that the Hebrews learned while in Egypt as captives, slaves, if that's the true story. Some of the books I've gone over say that's not the true story, that it was actually the Hebrews who had infiltrated Egypt and taken over the leadership, later to be overthrown and then enslaved. But anyways, the ancient Egyptian mysteries, magic, witchcraft, for clearer understanding, that's where the Hebrews learned that stuff, mysticism and Kabbalah. And so when they left, they took the Egyptian magic with them. And apparently in the time of even Jesus, some of the stuff I've read, they actually had guards at the borders of Egypt searching and frisking people so they couldn't take any of the magic amulets, talisman, incantations, whatever, secrets out of Egypt. Isn't that interesting? And of course now we have all these airports x-raying and frisking and scanning everybody. Suppose there's any similarity to the purpose? Somebody's trying to make sure people can't get away with things? Cynthius dedicated the books to his disciple Tarabuthus. In due course, Tarabuthus bought the books to Babylon, and on his death they passed on to his own disciple, the widow, who would adopt Mani in her old age. Though legend says he was a sickly child and lame in one egg, it seems that Mani grew up in a prosperous circumstances. Later he would claim that throughout his childhood he had received revelations directly from Ahura Mazda, the father of light, the god of goodness of Zoroastrian faith. He also experienced strange and disturbing visitations of the type normally treated today with powerful antipsychotic drugs. In one surviving text, the Colog Mani Codex, he tells us how he was. So they went into these experiencing strange and disturbing visitations by some kind of entities. The type normally treated with powerful antipsychotic drugs. Carlos Castellanda in the Separate Reality video I made, where he went to Mexico and trained with the Shama, taking peyote to communicate with the other side. Guarded by the might of the light angels, guarded by the might of the light angels and the exceedingly strong powers who had a command from Jesus the Splendor for my safekeeping, they nourished me with visions and signs which made known to me, slight and quite brief, as far as I was able, for sometimes like a flash of lightning he came. So apparently some light angels were visiting Mani. The being who sometimes came to Mani like a flash of lightning was an angel, one he regarded as a manifestation of his own higher identity, referred to variously as the light self, or the Altum, or twin. So apparently, according to some of the readings I've been doing, studying about the New Age, is we spiritual beings, like me, sitting here, I have a soul, but apparently, according to some of the books I've been reading, it's not all of my soul. A portion of my soul, half of it maybe, more or less, is still in the divine world connected to me. So that's when we talk about our higher selves. And our brains have the lower and higher frequencies, the left lobe and the right lobe. And your thinking or the communication with the higher self is an infinitely higher frequency than my left side, which is operating in slow motion. The words like I'm speaking and what I'm seeing is a slow frequency compared to the right lobe, the higher self. I've been reading a lot about this stuff, and I kind of put two and two together as I go. When Mani was 12 years old, the twin appeared to him. That would be his higher self, maybe, or some kind of angel, or some kind of demon. We have to keep our minds open here. The twin, when Mani was 12 years old, the twin appeared to him in a vision and informed him that he was to be responsible for transmitting a great teaching to mankind. again, good being or evil being, to transmit a great teaching to mankind. In order to do this, he would have to leave the Ecclestanes at some time in the future. Thereafter, the young Manny lived a quiet and studious life out of the limelight, gathering knowledge in secret, tutored by divine revelations and by his angel. I'll read this one last paragraph and make a short video out of this one, because I have to leave for a Christmas trip. With the greatest possible ingenuity and skill, I went about in that law of the Ecclestanes, preserving my hope in my heart. No one perceived who it was that was with me. So he didn't want anybody to know he was communicating with some kind of being, higher self or angel. And I myself revealed nothing to anyone during that great period of time. But neither did I, like them, keep the fleshy custom. I revealed nothing of what happened and of what will happen, nor what it is that I know and what it is that I had received. So with that, I'll end this video, and again, wish people watching my video Merry Christmas. And if you're not Christian, maybe you're Islamic or Hindu, Buddhist, whatever, happy holidays. And I'll continue reading from this probably Monday or Tuesday, and share some more information. Thank you for watching my video. Rick Miracle reporting.